Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's movie we're going to talk about K31 clones and straight pull pretenders. This is a special edition because this is for the birthday of my first and probably only female subscriber. Happy birthday, and let's get started. At first, something to make clear. The Swiss Army never used any of the K31 clones in 22 long rifle as army trainers. Even if this is somewhere written in the internet, this is wrong. The only cadet rifle used by the Swiss Army until 1957 was the gun you see in the picture. This is the Cadet Rifle 1897, or simply 97, and this is chambered in 7.5 times 55, so GP11. And Bloke on the Range, as well as Ian McCallum from ForgottenWeapons.com, have a video on this rifle, so there is no need to talk in more detail about it. I put you the links in the description. The rifle which you see in the picture right now is called KKSD. It's produced by Hämmerli. As you may see, this small logo of the hammer there, and the sources agree that production started in 1942, but there is no source telling how many of them were made. You may ask, why did they start the production of 22 long rifles in the middle of the war? And the explanation may be that the army usually provides the Swiss shooting clubs with ammunition. And during the war, there was Munitionssperre. The army did not provide the ammunition for shooting competitions because they might be necessary for something else. And maybe this is the reason the shooting with the 22 became popular, because the ammunition is relatively cheap. And maybe this is the reason why we started producing these rifles. And as I told you, they are not military trainers. They are for sporting, competitive sporting shooting. And when you look at the muzzle here, there you see this mark. This is actually from a gunsmith. And in Switzerland, in shooting competitions, county level or federal level, a gunsmith checks the gun, whether it's safe to use, and it's according to the rules. And he puts this thing that the range officer sees whether the gun was checked or not. And this one is from the 15th Federal Small Bore, so 22 shooting competition, 1967, Neuhausen am Rheinfall. So this one was used for sport shooting until the mid-70s. If you have a look at the rifle, you may ask whether this is a clone of an K31 or a clone of an K11. Here I hold an K31 next to it. Then you can see the handle is of aluminium. With the K11 it would be from red bakelite. But these cutouts here you usually do not find on the K31, you see this on the K11. This rifle here has 3 cutouts. The K11 has only 2, but the K11 has one here on this side, a very long one, which is missing here. So this gun has more or less the appearance of an K11 rather than in K31. Our second model looks more or less like a simplified version of Model 1. You see the cutouts, I hold it next to each other that you can see it. So the cutouts disappeared, but otherwise the rifle is completely identical. So it has the same sights, it has the very same bolt. I will disassemble it in a moment, and it looks very much like the other rifle, just a little bit simpler. First I thought that this rifle is made at the time where these diopters already exist, but this is impossible. These rifles were not made after 55, and the diopters appeared in the late 60s, beginning 70s. But if you have a closer look to this mount, this one was soldered to the rifle later on probably by a gunsmith to make this better suited for sport shooting. So the diopter does not really help to tell when this gun was made, but probably between 42 and 55. And the serial number of the first model was 3 digits, and this one has a 4-digit serial number. So apparently more of them were made than from the other model. And I will disassemble the bolt for you in a moment. So you remove the bolt as you do it with a normal K31. And to disassemble it, you do the exactly same thing. Yeah? Put this on 8:30. Can remove loading handle. Then you can remove the sleeve. And probably you cannot see it because it's too dark inside. But the 22 rifle is a rimfire, and this one punches right into the middle. And you have something like a fork inside here. So you hit the middle, and then you have a fork which you can maybe not see properly if this thing does not adjust. Now it does. So here you see, this is then actually what hits the cartridge. This is the extractor. So you hit in the middle, and somehow this is then converted in the fork. Just the fork has just one spike. And that's basically all. So what you see here is the disassembled rifle. This is the stock, this is the barrel, and you see the trigger group. And the trigger group has nothing in common with the trigger of the K31. This is exactly as the trigger is in the Langgewehr 11 or Carbine 11. And you have here an explosive picture. There you see the group. The trigger is exactly as in the K11, has nothing to do with the K31, and apparently in 1942 they did not use parts for the K31 which they made use in the war, which luckily never happened for Switzerland, and they used up all parts. Our next model is also an Hämmerli KKSD model 551. I hope maybe you can read this here. Here's written 551 and a serial number, 3 digits. And production start of this was 1957, together with the Lienhardt Anschutzrifle, which I will cover in a different video. And you can clearly see that this rifle was used for sport shooting. Apparently he has a fine adjustable sight in windage and elevation, and it was later on replaced with a diopter sight. The breech has an 11mm prism that you can mount any standard diopter to this, and then what you still need is a front sight. And the appearance is more or less like the other rifles. And this is not a pure Hämmerli rifle. This was actually a cooperation of Hämmerli and the German company Walter. And Walter made, I will take this out. Here. So these parts were made by Walter. And you may see this is a Walter handle that they have the one or other thing in common. So to ease and make the production a little bit cheaper, Hämmerli teamed up with Walter. Lienhardt teamed up with Anschütz, and they produced these rifles. According to an Italian auction house, I put you the link in the description, not that many of these rifles were made. They say the highest serial number is 672. My serial number is below, so this does not argue against this. And then they changed this handle against an ordinary like it has, or like most other rifles do have. So this one looks anyway more again like a K11 with the red bakelite, not the aluminium which is typical for the K31. But apparently to make production even easier and to save more production costs, they replaced this handle with such handles. Yeah, this is the only difference between the KKSD 551 and KKSD 5.52. I do not know how many of these carbines were made, but I found an old article in a local newspaper, and this is about the 100th anniversary of Waffenfabrik Hämmerli, and this was 1963, so the article is from 1965 and written by Stöcker von Olten. And as we said, we write a lot of things about the development of this company. They also feature several weapons, but they do not mention any of these rifles with a single word. And production start was 57, the KKSD 5.52 even a little bit later, the anniversary was 63. So as compared to other guns and pistols heavily produced, apparently these rifles were not that important. So in the following minutes you will see me shooting with both rifles, and for comparison I used an Untitled standard rifle from 1970, and at the end I will come back to you and we will talk about the results. So welcome at the range. This is 50 meter distance, you see the target, and the shots I fire you will see here on the monitor, so electronic target, and I will shoot with the first of the Hämmerli rifles, which looks, you see the icon, I hope, yes, now you see it, and I will shoot it with the K31 diopter.
So, hilft dir jetzt der Hof nach? Nein, ich will immer noch nicht hin. Aber du könntest.
So let's see what we've got here. And for the exception of shot number 5, the other one we make more or less one hole. It's a little bit big hole, so it's about 2 centimeters in diameter. It's a little bit off center, so but I can adjust this with the diopter side. But this is a very good group. I'm very happy with this. What I'm not so happy with is the ammunition. You may have noticed that every second shot I had to cock the rifle again and fire again. And is this in focus, or will it be even? Yeah, now it's in focus. So you see the punch mark of the firing pin. It's not exactly at the rim, it's a little bit inside, and maybe that's why I had to fire several rounds a second time. This actually is the first time this happens with this ammunition. Usually it works quite well. So my friends, I will shoot with this Hämmerli rifle. Where is here? See the Hämmerli logo, and this is one of the straight pull pretenders. See, the handle looks like the one from the K31, but in fact it is an ordinary bolt action rifle. And there are the targets, 50-meter distance.
müssen wir nicht. Was ist denn der? Ein bisschen lieber Gewehr, glaube ich. Ja, Spatzenflinte. Ja, lecker. Sieht gut aus, aber bringt nichts.
Und dann muss man noch schauen mit Foto. Du.
Ja, ja.
Ja, und dann nachher aufgelegt. Also, was sind denn da für Pfeifen?
Das ist eben ein Senior-Veteran.
Ein Super Senior?
Ja, Super Senior.
So, let's see what we've got. and this is a really nice group, several 100s. There's only one flyer, this is number 4, which is in 98, but all the others are very good. This is below 2 centimeter, below 1 inch group. So here you see the Untitled standard rifle I will shoot now. With the upper side, you can see the Untitled logo. And the rifle I think is from the 70s. Here you see the bolt, and you see it looks exactly like the one from the Leonhard Untitled, except the handle looks a little bit different to this one. And I zeroed the gun, and now we set this all back.
Jetzt auch für Teams und so. Und wie gesagt, echt klar. Aber hast du das gesehen? Ja. Ich habe das Video gesehen. Weißt du, wieso das so passiert ist? Wieso ist es nicht gekommen? Das habe ich irgendwie jetzt. Es ist ganz ein anderes Gefühl, gell? Ja. Wichtig ist aber, dass da jedes Mal jetzt merkst, Spannung jetzt geht halt. Tiefer, Leistung. Dafür hast du nachher viel besseres Fundament, weil du immer so du musst dir vorstellen, du wirst lang schiessen, dann hast du noch irgendwie gar nicht. Ja. Das war bei mir auch so. Bei mir habe ich jetzt noch schiessen. Dann schiesse ich so, dann gehe ich so runter und tue die Hand ein bisschen drehen. Aber wenn ich raufkomme, ist sie wieder gerade. Das merke ich gar nicht. Das hat bei mir mal im Training gesagt und dann habe ich gesagt, gerade, dann habe ich die Pistole eigentlich so breit, extrem gesagt, dass sie gerade war da unten, dann bin ich mit Spannung rauf. Das war ganz nah das Gefühl. Wenn es jetzt nur noch 10 geht,
ja, Anlage
aber
springt.
Er hat sich mega anstrengend gefühlt. Ja. Bis wann schiessest du?
Weiß nicht, also. Wie lange?
Also kannst schon noch nicht gleich. Weißt du, es geht mehr darum, dass ich nicht Stress oder so. Ich kann dich nachher sonst auch wieder in den Ding fahren, jetzt neu drauf oder so.
Nein, ich bin mit dem Böcker.
Ah, bist du mit dem Böcker?
Ah, ja, stimmt, ja.
Ah ja,
Ja, schießt vielleicht zuerst noch 5 bis 10 Schuss oder so.
ja, mach nur. Also mir musst du nicht Stress fühlen, auch wenn ich da mal 10 fahre. Ja.
Irgendwie spinnt. Das ist schon immer illegal, das ist, aber ja sicher Schiebetopf. Schiebetopf eigentlich.
Tipptopp. Wenn du auch gerade da bist, dann hast du auch eine gewisse Spannung. Da merke ich zum Beispiel dabei, wenn ich nicht so stehe, sondern so oder so, dann merke ich da brutal, dass ich instabil bin. Wenn ich instabil bin, dann habe ich so ein bisschen anstoppen, extrem. Ja. Dann merke ich, dass ich automatisch Knie mehr anspanne. Und dann bin ich viel stabiler. Ja. Da kannst du auch alles mal ausprobieren.
Ja, vor allem merke ich einfach, wenn ich da bin, haben wir so ein Tipp oder
ja, ja. Wenn das passiert, dann versuche ich einfach ein bisschen mehr, also nicht extrem, nicht so stehen. Ja. Einfach mehr so stehen.
So,
Dann merkst du, dass
as you can see, it's all in one hole. Not all over in the 100, but it's all in one hole. Diameter is maybe 1.5 centimeters with the Untitled rifle. So, what did we find out during shooting? We saw this is the last group I obtained with the Untitled match rifle, which actually is very good, but this is not the best one I got. The best one I got you see here. And essentially you see that all rounds are in one hole. That's right. And only these two are a little bit away, but still contact to the center. So this is about a centimeter or a little bit less of dispersion. And with the other rifles, you saw me shooting, I have here representative groups. It's always about 2.5 centimeters. This one is also 2 or maybe a little bit more when you consider number 4. And is this good or is this bad? And for comparison, I found in the internet someone else who shot with the KKSD 551 with a scope and with a bench rest. And what he obtained was this. These are 5 rounds, and you see this is about 1 centimeter group. The 9, this is the original size. So you see this one is about 2.5 centimeters. This is the actually target which is used for target shooting with these small bore rifles. So to compare my results with something I used in an old article about the German sport model 34, and you see it in the picture, and we actually tested different rifles with different ammunition, and I hope you can more or less see this. What we found out is on average we have also 1 inch dispersion. So sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. We tested a lot of different ammunitions, but on average this is more or less what also my rifles did, about 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch group, 50 meter distance. So, and for another comparison, I have again an article from a newspaper, and there we compared a Chinese Mauser K98K and a Polish Mosin Nagant trainer, both in 22 long rifle. And here are the results, are by far worse. The best group we had is about 8 centimeters, and the worst groups are more than 15 centimeters. So by far not as good as the Swiss trainers. So at the end I would like to show you a test report. Our club tested a match rifle with a company, and we tested different ammunitions, and the best group we had is 11.8 millimeter, so all X10 hits, and the worst one we stopped after I think 4 or 5 shots, which is more than 2 centimeters. And more than 2 centimeters is not useful for target shooting nowadays. And this makes more or less clear that the time where you could compete with the K31 clones in target shooting are long over. You cannot beat the match rifles nowadays. And now at the very end I have here an old price list from the company Hämmerli. I think it is from the 60s. And there you can see the price, what we call here Hämmerli Flowbird caliber 22 long rifle, at this time 125 francs. And match rifle was 1000 francs, so in 22 long rifle, and an Hämmerli Tanner in 7.5 times 55 Swiss was about 2000 francs. So you may not expect to get any of the carbines for 125 francs nowadays. So you may add a 0 at the end, and then you have more or less a realistic price. So that's really all for today. I hope you are not bored to death, and hopefully I see you soon in part 2, where I will cover the Lienhardt Anschütz rifles. Have a nice day.